On Monday, yesterday morning, at 6:57 a.m. precisely, the government and the Honourable Erica Stanford, who is in trouble because of this exclusive by One News political editor Mikey Sherman and political producer Tom Day, we'll talk about that a little bit later but did something positive and constructive, it would appear, yesterday morning, just before 7, by releasing um, a suggestion or something much more positive than that, launching a new parent portal, an online resource designed to enable, they say, families to play their part in their child's learning. Erica Stanford, the Minister of Education, said this is about giving parents clarity, confidence, and practical tools to support their child's learning journey. And on this parent portal, which I've gone to, they do a whole series of things, except nothing particular. I'll talk about that in just a second. But the 6 key things that they do is that they basically break down what your child will be learning, particularly when it comes to the English and maths curriculum, how you can help them at home by giving some practical assistance to parents, to assist your parents at home, and also give you things, for example, practical tips for parent-teacher interviews so that you know what questions to ask the teacher at whatever time that comes around. And even they give you some good examples of maths tests that you can give your kids. How this is going to go down, whether or not it's going to go work, whether it's going to do the job, whether it's going to make any difference at all, because I would have thought that if you're not particularly interested in education, you won't be heading off to the parent portal, but that's just me. We are joined by Lucy Naylor, the Primary Principal Association from Auckland president. She joins us now. Lucy, thanks for giving us your time this morning. Welcome to the show.
Kia ora koutou. Morning.
Listen, the parental portal, I'm sorry, I'm underwhelmed because it doesn't give me the answers that I want to know how my child's going to be learning at school. What's the reaction of primary principals to this?
Well, it's as you said, it's hot off the press, brand new. So I haven't read it in a huge amount of detail. But what I can say is that we know that the homeschool partnerships are vital for student success. Parents working with the schools is absolutely vitally important. The parent portal is one piece of the puzzle in creating those or strengthening those relationships with the parents so that they have an understanding of where their child sits. It's definitely a step in the right direction in terms of strengthening homeschool partnerships. It's going to give parents access to the knowledge and perhaps some more confidence when engaging with the teachers and the school, and enabling them to ask the right questions that they want to know the answers to. It has created some transparency and perhaps demystified what we do every day in schools. There's consistency so that regardless of where your child goes to school, parents are going to get similar messaging. What's really important as well, it unpacks the year by year learning. So parents know what to expect every year that their child's at school. So while it's not the total answer, it is part of the puzzle that goes towards demystifying education. But what it does do is for those parents who are willing to engage with it, there's a lot on there and a lot of really, really good stuff on there for parents to get their heads around. But it doesn't stand alone. It does need to work with the school and, those relational aspects that you're not going to get from a platform still need to be at play as well. So I think it's one piece of the puzzle. I would hope, and most schools will already be doing this, that they will have information nights. So they might have a literacy evening where parents come and learn how literacy is being delivered in their child's kura. So yeah, it's one piece of the puzzle, but it's for schools. I think it's a good step forward in creating some consistency from parents.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm underwhelmed. It's extraordinary that here you are talking about demystifying education. I mean, it's almost bizarre that in 2025 teaching and the teaching profession and education system in particular has seemed to freeze parents out from being involved in their children's education. It's extraordinary to me that we're even talking about in 2025. So I guess that's positive. But can I give an example? Practical tips for parent-teacher interviews so parents can feel confident asking questions about their child's progress. Why the hell aren't schools providing that information as a matter of course?
I do think that schools are providing that information. We have been
Really?
doing parent interviews for many, many, many years.
Oh, yes, but they're
Um,
all crap. I mean, let's be honest about it. They don't tell us what we need to know. For example, in many cases, schools throughout New Zealand have been hiding the achievement information or the testing information from parents, even when
I
they've been
think
asked for it.
there is a piece in there around that sits with COVID. I do think there was a period in COVID, well, there was a period in COVID where parents were kept out of schools, and that was for very different reasons. Most
No, this
schools
is
were,
before COVID. This is before COVID.
well,
I mean,
I would disagree because with schools have been assessing children for 4 years, forever. That's our bread and butter. So that assessment information has always been there. What we're
yes, it
seeing
has, but
now
it just hasn't been relayed to parents. I mean,
is
you're talking to somebody here whose children have been in the primary education system relatively recently in different schools. It's not just at one school, it's throughout numerous schools. Unless you know what the testing information is, you don't get it provided. And then you've
I,
got to insist.
I would question that, and I'm sorry that you've had that experience within
Well, listen, it's not
education.
just one school. I could name them. My children have been to schools in Wanganui, in Timaru, in Cromwell, and in Monica. And getting testing information out of those schools, different deciles, most of them higher decile, has been a difficult contest. And I'm not just the only person to have had that experience. When we've discussed it on this show, numerous parents have had the same difficulty with schools as well.
It's I'm sorry that you've had that experience because it's certainly not my experience of working in education. My experience is that most schools, the vast majority of schools, are very proactive in sharing that information with parents. Um, there's no reason for them to hide that information. Assessment has been carried out, EAST or PATs. We've been making overall teacher judgments for many years. Take national standards. We were all making overall teacher judgments.
Yes, but
That part
yes,
is,
but that was
you know,
opposed by so many teachers, and certainly by teacher unions. It was almost a tenet of faith to get rid of it when the Labor government was elected in 2017.
but those assessment practices the assessment practices that support those overall teacher judgments, that hasn't changed. That was in the
No, it hasn't.
delivery.
But those national standards, which were aimed at providing that information into some sort of formative role, were opposed by many in your profession, and certainly by the teacher unions, and under pressure from teachers, were got rid of.
So
Isn't that
what
true?
I to a point, it's probably a conversation for another day around national standards, because moving forward, what this platform does for parents is some of those things you've highlighted. It gives them confidence in what schools are delivering. It shows the consistency between schools. And with the curriculum refresh and the assessment practices that are being refreshed alongside that, there is going to be greater consistency. And I'm absolutely not talking about national testing. What I'm talking about is creating consistency between schools so parents have increasing confidence. So perhaps your experiences of the past are not going to be repeated.
I
Um,
bet they are. Listen, I don't believe that your profession at all will suddenly start volunteering the EAST or the PAT test to your children, to your parents. I mean, if they did,
well,
that would be wonderful.
yeah, well, my hope is that they do. And I know that there are a lot of schools that already do that. There are many schools in their mid and end of year report will share achievement data. They will share the overall teacher judgment. There will be a comment about the learner attributes that their child is succeeding in and perhaps finding challenging. The mid-year and end-of-year reporting, that's been there for many, many years. The ongoing reporting that we're now looking at, moment in time reporting, that's going to add another rich layer to what was already there. And this portal is going to provide parents with that information to understand better the year by year learning. I think for parents going into learning conversations with teachers, we want them to ask the right questions. We can give the information. The questions need to be asked as well by parents. And I do think it goes back to the original point I made, is that those homeschool partnerships where schools and teachers are working with parents for the success of the child is vitally important. And this portal is one step towards that. But like I say, the relationship with the school and the parents' willingness to engage with the school, as well as the school's willingness to engage with parents, is the way that this will succeed.
Well, so in other words, it's still reliant upon two aspects of here, two variables, if you like. The first variable is the school and the teachers within it and the leadership being prepared to share that information. And then the second variable is the parent who might, and taking interest in their child's education. And it's that second aspect I want to address with you now, if I may. In many cases, I would consider that most children who are successful at school already have supportive parents at home. That's the reason they're successful. And that those who are failing generally don't, or have a home environment in which the value of education and schooling is not considered highly. Do you think this parent portal will go anywhere in addressing those sorts of deficiencies?
I think the school has a responsibility to use this portal to empower those relationships. You're absolutely right. Sometimes the parents that we need to engage the most are the ones that we find it most challenging to engage with.